What was your name?
I can't give out that information, so.
You can't give out your name. Okay, interesting. Like YouTube channel? Can you give that out or no?
No. Nobody gives a fuck about my YouTube channel.
Oh, okay. Cool. So why are you guys here?
Content.
Okay. Like, what type of content or what are you looking for?
I'm trying to do answers. I'm trying to find context.
Okay. So what do you want to talk about?
Why are you out here?
Because I think Trump and his administration are overreaching their power dramatically. They get along to arrest people and send them to an El Salvadorian prison with no due process. Do you agree with me?
Are those illegals you're talking about?
Illegal or not, it doesn't matter. Does it matter to you?
You don't care if illegals get deported?
I care about people not being sent to an El Salvadorian prison with no due process. Do you?
If they were gang members, would you care?
So how do you know they're gang members?
Because of the Department of Justice?
No. The Department of Justice didn't call them gang members. In order for you to prove that they're gang members or they've committed any kind of crime, you have to have due process. So this is where it goes in a circle with you guys always, is you say like, no, we're fine deporting criminals, but you don't know if they're a criminal unless they go through due process.
All illegals are criminals.
No, they're not. What crime have they committed?
Crossing the border.
That's a civil offense, not a criminal offense.
Those are
And
crimes.
also, not all undocumented. No, sorry, that's not a crime. A civil offense is not a crime. It's not a criminal offense. Also, not all undocumented immigrants cross the border illegally. So many people came here applying for asylum, and that process has a wait time of 5 to 7 years sometimes. And so they are legally allowed to reside here while they wait for their application to be reviewed by an immigration judge. So they haven't committed any crime. They came here, they went through the legal process, they are undocumented, which you call illegal. You lump them all into the same group, but they're undocumented. But they're not illegal. They're allowed to reside here legally as they wait for their application to be processed.
Well, actually, it is a crime
To be undocumented? Explain.
Yes.
Tell me what crime it is.
It's a crime.
What crime?
Illegal.
Explain it. You gotta say it. You can't just say it's a crime. Explain how it's a crime. To
In
be
the US
undocumented.
Code, it is illegal to come to the country.
No. You have to come to a port of entry to apply for asylum. That is the process we have. That is the law in the U.S. If you want to apply for asylum, you have to physically be present in the United States. Do you understand that?
And you support that?
Yeah, of course. No. What I support is immigration reform, so we don't have 5 to 7 year waiting times. But who killed that bipartisan bill in Congress last year?
So you want the years to come down, or just no waiting time at all?
Say that again?
No waiting time at all for illegals.
I'm not saying no waiting time at all. There's a cost to everything. You can't have, a million judges so that there's zero waiting time, but we can get that waiting time down to weeks or months instead of 5 to 7 years.
Real talk, you know there were criminals across the border under Biden, right?
Of course.
And they killed American citizens.
Sure, but did you know, according to the FBI's crime statistics, immigrants in general, undocumented or otherwise, commit significantly less crime than U.S. citizens?
So you're okay with criminals?
No. Are you going to answer any of my questions? I've answered a lot of yours. Did you know that? Did you know that? Why doesn't it matter? You want to hold immigrants to a higher standard than U.S. citizens? You want to get rid of all immigrants because a few commit a crime, but you're fine with American citizens committing more crime? That's called bigotry and racism, right? You don't hold people to different standards, higher standards than U.S. citizens.
You know what U.S. citizens have that illegals don't?
A lot of things. We're very privileged. They were what?
They were born here.
And you think that makes you superior because you're born here?
That means you're more
That means you're a citizen.
You're born here.
Yeah, I know. You think that makes you better? You think that makes you deserving of more human rights than other people? You think that means you should get due process and somebody else shouldn't?
Yes.
Why?
Absolutely.
You know that's not the law, right? You know the law is anybody that is physically in the U.S. is entitled to due process.
Not illegals.
Yes, they are. They are. undocumented immigrants, anybody physically in the U.S. is entitled to due process. So let me ask you a question. Let's say I just said you're an illegal immigrant. I'm ICE. I say you're an illegal immigrant and I arrest you.
Hell yeah, get my ass out of the country.
Okay, so you're not a citizen then? You're fine with that?
No, illegals are not citizens, man.
I know, but I just said you're an illegal. Do you get how if you don't have any due process, there's no process to prove you're illegal. There's no process to even prove you committed any crime.
Well, they're going after criminals first, so they're going to...
That's what Trump says, but that's like saying, you know, if I say I'm doing one thing and then do another, that's how it is. That's not what's happened, okay? Yeah, like, you heard about the gay barber from Venezuela? Sorry?
Who was a part of a gang? Trendy.
No, he wasn't. He wasn't part of a gang.
Trendy.
How? Prove it. Tell me, what evidence was there that he was part of a gang?
To be honest, I do trust the Department of Justice.
That wasn't the Department of Justice. That was ICE. And they didn't prove it. They didn't prove it. They just said it. Do you understand how if somebody just says things and doesn't prove them?
They're going to have records on this
They're
guy.
going to have records.
And
They
they're
don't.
going to arrest him.
They're going to arrest him. What are you talking about? They didn't just deport him. They put him in a foreign prison. That's not...
That is deporting and putting in prison.
Yeah,
so that's awesome.
Yes. So what did he do though? What crime did he commit to deserve going to prison?
Illegal. Even it's illegal.
Being undocumented isn't a crime. You gotta get that. Look. You gotta go home and Google this, okay?
Even if
being
it wasn't,
undocumented
we
is not a
should
crime.
make it because it's just common sense. I can go to another country and just stay there.
It's not common sense.
And commit crimes and just they're cool. That would never happen in any other country.
Yeah, because you are very privileged. You have not had to flee a poor country seeking asylum and apply for asylum and then wait.
And they're rapists.
Oh, fuck you, asshole. You just called all immigrants gang members and rapists? You are insane, dude. And this is racism and bigotry. And look, you gotta pull your head out of this like Andrew Tate, Jordan Peterson, toxic masculinity dark hole. You like Andrew Tate?
I love Andrew Tate.
Oh my gosh.
They can never make
me hate
you.
Wow. Okay, dude. I like. You gotta get out of this. Okay.
I'm here.
I'm telling you.
Minds. I'm just here to record what people
I know. Yeah, that's.
And it's going to be
great.
impossible for us to change each other's minds. But I appreciate that.
No, but like I'm telling you, dude. Andrew Tate. My wife studied human rights law. Okay. Andrew Tate is a human trafficker. He is a sexual abuser. Trans people are not hurting this country. Andrew Tate is. Andrew Tate is infecting the minds of young men with toxic masculinity bullshit, right? That tells them whoever's stronger is better. That tells them that immigrants are rapists and criminals.
I forgot when Andrew Tate said to harass women.
Oh, okay. Do you want me to send you... I can send you video footage. He said it staring directly at the camera for his YouTube channel.
Yeah, anybody that says harass women, they're not...
Yeah, sure.
So I don't think it exists, but I'll try to...
Andrew Tate has. I'm telling you, dude. If you give me your information, give me your email, give me your social media, I will send you clips. Andrew Tate has stared directly at the camera and talked about how he traps women, how he abuses women, and how he teaches his young male followers to do the same. And dude, I'm telling you for your own benefit. I don't know where you are in your life, but you gotta pull yourself out of this, okay? This is toxic, and this is really bad. And you know what? You're not gonna make friends with women this way.
Are you this way because you want to make friends with women?
Okay.
Because your wife was liberal?
What?
Because your wife was liberal. Is that why you're a liberal?
No, I'm liberal because I believe in human rights, because I believe everybody deserves due process. You think because somebody's an immigrant, they're a rapist and a criminal, and that's just racist.
There are rapists that are
Sure,
immigrants.
there are rapists that are citizens. There are criminals that are
we need to
citizens.
deport every
So do you
single
see how
illegal
if you paint all immigrants as rapists and criminals, do you see how that's wrong and that's bigotry and racism?
It highlights the significance of being invaded.
We just
by
talked about
illegal
the FBI statistics show that American citizens are more often rapists and criminals than immigrants.
I do not care.
I know.
If you're
I know. That's
illegal,
because you're
you need to
racist.
deport.
That's because you're racist, and you got to pull yourself out of this, man.
If somebody's white and they're illegal, get them the fuck out of here. It's not about race, man.
No, but you said they're rapists and criminals, and you want to hold these people to a higher standard than American
Hell
citizens.
yeah. Because American citizens are born.
So?
And if you want to come to the United
And you think
States,
you're better.
you have to be a higher standard.
I know, but you want to get rid of all of them. You don't. You want to get rid of people without committing a crime, right? Without proving any crime. You just say, you can point to an immigrant and say, hey, you committed a crime, and then deport them without proving it. You don't see how that's wrong, how that's dangerous?
Support illegals, you know. Thank you for the interview. Appreciate it. You have a good day.
Yeah, you too, man.
I wanted to say real quick.
Yeah.
Just so my dad's he was an illegal immigrant, came through the process, able to get his citizenship, right? And I'm for legal immigration.
So,
but wait, I wanted to say real quick.
Yeah.
So the what Trump is using to hinge on is the Aliens and Enemies Act of 1798.
which was racist.
Right. Well, it's an effective way to be able to get rid of people who have committed crimes without maybe like a due process, right? But the issue is that I think the issue is greater is that like the issue that we have now is because of what Biden did during his administration, removing the Remain in Mexico policy, which might have its issues, but there's like either 3 to 10 times more immigration that occurred during that period of time, and that can have detrimental impacts on infrastructure, which we've seen in Utah.
Okay, so
would you agree with that?
Actually, I think immigrants as a whole have had a net positive impact on our economy, and so immigrants, even illegal immigrants like your father, so your father paid Social Security and Medicare taxes, right?
Yeah.
Even though he couldn't participate in those benefits, illegal immigrants are
became a citizen.
Immigrants in general, including undocumented immigrants, are a net benefit on our society and our economy, right?
Would you agree that it needs to be more, maybe based more on what do we need as a country for infrastructure, for jobs, right? There's a lot of jobs.
Well,
this sounds a little bit racist, but who's going to pick our crops? That sounds a little bit racist, but who is going to do those jobs, right? People who are.
They fill
it does sound a little bit racist. It is because it's kind of a little bit racist.
Immigrants fill a lot of important jobs that Americans, U.S. citizens, often don't want to do, right? And so, if we've got a need and they have a need, that's a mutually beneficial relationship, right? They're fleeing their country from difficult circumstances, and they're coming here to find a better life. And we have a need for people to fill those jobs, and they're happy to, right? So if it's a win-win for both parties, why would we try and prevent it?
So that's where the issue is it is in some ways it is a win-win, but there's so many individuals who come across. It's a national security issue. It's a sovereign issue, right? And that's the issue that a lot of people. You're gonna have your racist on the right.
I agree.
Right.
We need immigration reform, right? I 100% are on top of that. But why did Trump kill the bipartisan immigration bill that would have allowed for more judges, for more agents at the border?
All right, we'll continue this.
Okay.
My hat and my hair. All right, so I only have I gotta go get my. Oh, is this on still? Is this on? I pushed the button. So I don't.
The front.
So you said earlier his dad is a criminal and a rapist. Yeah, but do you see that's a difference? Some American citizens are criminals and rapists too. So it's bigoted to make statements like that about groups of people.
So here's the issue: is that you're gonna have issues with people here in America that are rapists and criminals. You're gonna have issues with people.
But why is it worse if they're immigrants?
The reason why it is worse is because there's an fairly easy way to be able to mitigate those risks, right? That's what government's there to do, is mitigate the risks, right? And that's what Remain in Mexico was able to do. Was be able to say, okay, we're gonna have to be able to see. Let's see who's actually the people that can actually be in this country, who have maybe a better history.
But do you know that's a small percentage? Again, for people that come and apply for asylum, they're undocumented because they're waiting for their application to be reviewed, which has a wait time of 5 to 7 years, right?
Yeah.
So these aren't they're not rapists or criminals, right? They're just people that are fleeing difficult circumstances. Now, if I can go back to one thing you said earlier, you're all for legal immigration, right?
Yes, correct.
So why do you agree with Trump's decision to revoke the legal status of 500,000 Cubans, Haitians, and Venezuelans who are here legally, who went through background checks, came through the legal process? Do you disagree with that decision?
So what I would disagree with is a decision that supposedly that these people are the Nick Shirley, what's up, baby? How's it going? What I disagree with is if there is like legal, like for sure, like legal like status. What do you mean? What is the legal status that they received? It was like during the Biden administration, and they like bypassed it. Like they used it.
They went through background checks. They went through background checks. They went through. I don't know the exact process, but
so if it's with what happened with Biden,
they haven't committed a crime, right?
So we'll see. So this is the issue. Is I think there's a lot of like these people, the immigrants. I'm not blaming the immigrants. I would do the same thing. I don't blame them. I blame the policy that Biden had to be able to let so many people in, and you might say that they had background checks or whatever. But how reliable were those background checks?
They're done by the Department of Justice. So again, my wife studied human rights law. She's worked in immigration camps. After the Afghan war ended, she went and worked in an immigration camp in Texas, helping process. She volunteered to do this, right? They go through background checks through the FBI and the Department of Justice. These are reliable background checks, right? These people didn't commit crimes. They didn't do anything wrong. They came through the legal process, and the government looked at them and said, yes, these people, they're not criminals.
Did they claim asylum?
Some of them.
And so that's the issue, is that like so many people have like claimed asylum. It's so easy to say.
No, but
I claim asylum.
It's actually not. It's not easy because you can't just say it.
Is that true? Is that true?
Yeah, it is.
It's not true that you can say I claim
you
asylum.
can say it, but you have to get that
border,
application approved. Up, right? No, they don't come and pick you up. First of all, to apply for asylum in the United States, you have to be physically present in the United States to apply for asylum, right? Mm-hmm. And so you submit your application, and then they have to wait for a judge to review it.
Gotcha.
And so that's the problem, right?
Yeah, and so I see, like, the issue that I have is really like what I said, is that the people who have been able to come here through the processes that Biden instituted, and then going through that process. I don't think he's recording anymore.
So no, you're fine.
but
so
like,
why was Biden's process bad?
Because it let so many people. Remember, what were the numbers? Do you know the numbers of how many people?
So I know Trump revoked the legal status of 500,000 legal immigrants.
No. I'm saying, like, what were the numbers of how many individuals came to
apply through those programs? I'm not sure. I would have to
immigrated to the U.S. During like Trump's term, and then how many came during Biden's term?
Actually, it was very similar. If you go back and look at the total numbers, let's look. It was very similar.
It was like 10, either 10x or 3x.
It was very similar.
What were the numbers of illegal immigrants that came through the border during?
Wait, legal or illegal? Or total? Sorry.
Yeah, it would be illegal, is what I would view.
Illegal, you're saying,
legal.
or undocumented? Okay,
undocumented,
yeah. So let's look at the numbers. What does it say here?
So let's get our totals, not just each year. Okay. Okay, so it was Trump's 4 years total 1.95 million, while Biden's, though early 2025, exceeds 8.34, right? And sorry. Yeah, for sure. And it'll give some sources or whatever. I think that it might not be exactly 100% that's the number, but that's going to be like fairly close to what the numbers were, and that's the numbers that I've seen approximately. And so what the issue is like I said, I am pro legal immigration, let's get people here who can be able to fill the jobs that we need, not just have this surplus of so especially in Utah. Wait 1 second. In Utah, we already had have a housing crisis, right? Caused not as a lot of people are blaming all on illegals. It's not true.
No, I don't think it's illegals at all.
Initially, it was from COVID because a lot of Californians came to Utah, right? And that was a big. Issue.
I actually don't think. I think the bigger issue is. We've allowed corporations like Open Door to buy up the vast majority of housing in the U.S.
Yes, that part too. All these things, but having so many illegal immigrants does not help, right? So I'm not saying that they're the only issue, but just from a standpoint of hey, let's not let's not exacerbate an already bad issue, right? Would you agree
You
with that?
understand we have-
Would you agree with that? Like, let's try not to exacerbate an already pressing issue, right?
Yes and
there could
no.
be-
So
there could
like
be some other
it
benefits
solves
in
a
another
lot
way,
of other
maybe,
problems
right.
we have, which is we've got a lot of job openings here in Utah that need to be filled.
Sure,
right? And so a lot of these immigrants, whether they're undocumented or otherwise, are coming in and filling these jobs.
Yeah.
And I think we need to come up with a plan because that's again a net benefit on our economy, right? So
and from
we
an
need to
economic
come up with a
standpoint,
plan
yes,
to
there's some for sure, like benefits
solve.
and that's where it seems kind of like, how did the Democrat Party become the party of anti-American working class?
We're
right?
not though.
Well,
so who
yeah,
is busted labor unions?
Well, I actually want to ask you this question with the tariffs. I'm not a fan of the tariffs, actually.
Good,
Initially,
good. You shouldn't be,
There's
because they're-
pros and cons, right? There can be pros and cons. He loves the tariffs.
Yeah, because he
There-
doesn't
there-
understand
There
them.
can be pros and cons,
Actually,
right?
it's to bring back factories in the United States. You just hate our country.
No,
That's
I
why you
don't. No, I
give a fuck
don't.
about it. You don't give a fuck about workers. That's why we're
Whoa. So are you for labor unions?
No, unions are trash.
Yeah, okay, so you don't care about workers then, right?
I care about workers because I want their jobs to come back.
You don't.
And actually,
Dude, so what's your level of
unions increase
education? I'm gonna ask because my guess is it's YouTube and.
Trying to convince her.
No, we're just talking, man. We're just talking. I know you're upset.
you-
I know you're upset because I called you out on your racist comments.
I got it. Yeah, I gotta go get back to my. They have to deal with my truck, or they have something. I have my stuff in the truck. Really good talking to you.
Yeah,
though.
it's good talking to you, man.
We have some
Appreciate it.
common beliefs and some
Yeah, look.
different agreements, and that's all right.
I would just say, if you get all your news from right-wing sources, try and look at other sources. Okay, that's fine. But just, I would say, try and make an effort to look at other sources because confirmation bias. I don't know if you know what that is.
Would you take the same advice?
Yes.
as well?
Yeah. Yeah.